Hey team, welcome back. So first, I wanna start by saying that I hope that you were able to finish this little challenge on your own. If you weren't, if you had any problems, don't worry about it. Just go to the branch, to the branch in the previous video. I think it's branch 2021. Anyway, just check the branch in the previous video, and you should be okay to copy that from there. But I finished it, no problems, and I don't think you had any issues either. I'm pretty sure you were able to follow along just great. All right. So now the next thing we're gonna work on is to start enabling our second Redux use case, which is to actually use a project action get projects to get the list of projects from our server, then dispatch the get projects action, in which we load this to our reducer, which we're going to have a projects object. Then obviously connect our dashboard component to the store, map our state to props, and then obviously display the errors. Now that's going to be a lot for one lecture. So where we're going to leave things at is that we're going to wire everything up so that we can see our projects, a list of projects in the state, and then in the next lecture then we're going to work on the UI so that we don't make this too long, because it could be very long. I actually dry run this, and me explaining and you guys trying to follow along might be too long. So we're going to start working back to front on the React Redux context, on the front end context, of course. Okay, so we're gonna take this step by step, nice and easy, because we are about to create our second action and our second reducer. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to work on, as I mentioned, we're going to get to the point where we are actually getting our projects. All right, so we're gonna create a type very similar to this one, and this time around I'm gonna try not to make any mistakes, and in all caps we're gonna set get projects. Perfect. Get projects. It looks good. All right, so now the second thing that we're going to do is we're gonna wire up our project reducer. So we're gonna go to the reducers folder. We're gonna create a new JavaScript file called project reducer.js. Perfect. Now in the project reducer.js, we're going to import the action that we just created in types. So it's going to be import curly braces get projects from, and then we're going to start using our IntelliSense to try and find the actions folder, which is right here, and then the types. And if we save this, we shouldn't have any import issues because that exists. Okay, just like we did with the errors reducer, the first line of code is going to be to actually set up our initial state. Cons initial state, and this is going to be an object. Now this object has it's going to have two elements. First, it's going to have a projects array that is going to be empty, and then you're going to put a comma here, very important, and then you're going to have a project element, which is going to be an empty object. Okay, so this is going to be an array of projects, and this is going to be a single project. When we do our update case, then we're going to want to load a project. So that's why we're just doing some work for the future right here. Okay, but right now we're just going to work with the list of projects. Then, just like we did for the errors reducer, we're going to create a function, export default function, and this function is going to take the state, not this state, but the state, which is the initial state that we just created, and then it's going to take obviously an action. In this initial case, the action that it's going to take is the get projects. Then we're going to wrap this on a switch statement, just like we did before. Type, and then we're going to surround this with curly braces, and then we're going to obviously, I always like starting with the default action, which is basically just return the state. Okay, then the other action that we're going to wire up here is a get projects. Okay, colon. Then we're going to say return, and then here we're going to use curly braces because this is going to return the state, and then it's going to return the projects. And this is very important, projects, not the project. It's very easy to make that mistake. Okay, maybe you put project here and then nothing's going to load. Been there, done that. That's why I'm saying it. Okay, so projects action payload, which in our action, when we actually wire it up, it's basically what we're going to be passing on to this. Okay, basically what we're sending back to what we're sending back to the reducer, or I'm sorry, to the store. All right, I think I have an error here, and I know why, because I have to actually type case here. Okay, so this is the case get projects, and it's going to return the state, and it's going to load the projects with the payload that we're getting from the server. All right, so I hope this makes sense, and this is all we need to do with the reducer at this very moment. Okay, so now that we close this down, then the next thing that we're going to do is that we need to go to our index.js here in the reducers folder, and then we have to bring in our project, and then we're going to bring the project reducer that we just created, and this is going to do the auto import. Okay, and it's going to import this, and remember, if you don't have the auto import, you need to type this to make sure it is imported. Okay, perfect. And as I was saying, just make sure that you have your import. I'm sorry that I had to stop the video. I had a very insistent neighbor knocking on my door and ruining my recording session. So my apologies. Anyway, we're gonna continue wiring this up. So as I mentioned, we have to bring our project reducer here and then bring up the import. All right, so then our next step here, now that we have our reducer up to date, it's going to be to go and create our project action. Okay, and right now we only have the case where we are creating a new project. Now the next case that we're going to create is going to be to actually get all the projects that we have in our database. Okay, and don't worry, because once we set up security, then we're only going to get the projects that are associated to that account. But don't worry, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, so the next thing that we need to do here is to import the action that we're going to dispatch, which is get projects, which is what we've done in our reducer. Okay, now that we have that there, then we're going to do export const get projects. Okay, and then this arrow function doesn't take any parameters, and then I'm not going to make this mistake again. We need this syntax like this, and then async or asynchronous dispatch, and then we're going to put the curly braces there, and then what we're going to do is const res await. Remember, we're using async await, and then axios dot get, and then we're going to basically grab the same endpoint that we're using in Postman to get our projects. And to be honest, I do not remember this off the top of my head, so I'm just going to open my collection, and this is why it is important for us to create our collection, final projects, which is basically this URL right here. Perfect. So that's what we're going to grab here, and then on the get we're going to put this. And again, once we have this related to users, we're going to of course change that. So then we're going to dispatch parentheses curly braces, and then we're going to do type dot get projects, and then payload is going to be the res dot data, which is basically the data that we're getting from our database. We need a comma here, and this is the data that we get from our database, and obviously this is what we're going to be passing on to the reducer, right? This is this payload right here. Okay, I hope that that makes a lot of sense right now. All right, and this is exactly what we're passing here, and that's what's gonna update our state when we make the API call. All right, so we have our actions, we have our reducer updated, we created a reducer, we created a type. So we're gonna start slowly closing this down, because I don't want to stop this video without showing you that everything that we did here works. So the next thing that we're going to do is go to the dashboard component. Okay, and in the dashboard component, then we're going to bring a few imports that we really need in order for us to make this happen. And actually, I'm just going to go through these real quick. Let me just get my notes. First, we're going to import connect, just like we did before, because we need to connect this to our store, to our state from Redux. Okay, and always is a good idea to save it, because if you have a typo here, like let's say if I put connect D or whatever, it should break at some point. But anyways, connect here. Actually, that thing just made me look really bad, because it usually breaks. I don't know why it didn't there, but anyway. Then the other thing that we're going to do is import get projects, which is what I believe I put on the project action. Yeah, get projects. Right? Import get projects from, and again we're going to use our super IntelliSense. I think it's actions, then project actions. Perfect. All right. So now that we have this, the other thing that we're going to do is that we're going to connect our component to our store. Again, we're going to surround this by parentheses, and then we're going to do connect. And then we're going to, for now, pass it null. And then we're also going to pass it the function that we're going to use. Okay. Let me think for a second here. Let me think for a second, because all I want to do right now is just get this onto our state. I don't want to display them yet. So I'm just going to try and do something real quick. First of all, let me just go ahead and check our database, and I just want to make sure that if we have anything there, because I don't remember if I restarted the server. If you restarted the server, I suggest that you go and you create a few servers, a few projects. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're gonna finish wiring this up. We're gonna also work. We're gonna set our map state to props. Okay. So const map state to props, again to map our state to our property. So we're gonna pass it the state parameter, and then we're gonna arrow function here, parenthesis and curly braces, and then we're gonna have here the project object, which comes from state the project. And again, if you don't remember what I'm talking about, if you come to the index.js in the reducers folder, it's basically this right here. All right, I hope that that's clear. That's why we're saying project here. And then from that project, we're going to extract our projects, all right, which is inside of the project reducer, which is right here. Cool. So we're going to do our map state to props, state.project, and then obviously, yeah, actually, we don't need to do anything else. I don't want to make the same mistake that I made in the last video, so I'm just gonna wire this up right now. Okay, remember I was spinning my wheels because I didn't finish this properly. And then we're going to set up the prop types, and we're actually getting very close to the end of this video, because I really don't want this video to be so extensive. I know that these videos have been a little extensive, but I really want to take my time, because there's a lot of moving parts in React and Redux, as you can see. Then I'm pretty sure we imported our prop types. No, we have not imported our prop types. Good catch there, Carlos. So basically import prop types from prop types. Okay, which is part. And then obviously, yeah, of course that's gonna break because basically we're saying prop types. We're saying prop types here, and this is of course an object and is required. And then we're going to also do our function get projects, which is also project prop types. You need a comma here. And I'm already starting to go a little too fast just because I don't want this lecture to be so long. But I think I should concern myself with delivering quality rather than trying to squeeze time. All right, so don't worry, I'm gonna go back to having a good pace. So now that we have wired this up here, then the last step that we're going to take in this specific lecture is that right above the render method, we're going to use another lifecycle hook. And this lifecycle hook is basically dictates what needs to happen when we mount the component. And this is the way I understand it when we render the component, okay? And this lifecycle hook is called component did mount. Called immediately after a component is mounted, setting state here will trigger re-rendering. Okay, so basically this is setting how the component should load, and when the component loads, it needs to the props.get projects. Okay, it needs to actually call the action that we created here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So basically we're mapping this, and we're not using this yet, but I mapped it anyway. But we are mapping the get projects when we connect this to the store, and then we mount this when we load the component. Now with this in place, we're here. Remember, our Java server needs to be running, and I am going to go to the database real quick. I'm just going to take a quick trip to our DB, and I want to see what I have there. And I have one project. I am going to create another one just real quick, and then I have it here. I have two projects, and then if I go to the state, I should have two projects loaded in the state. So we're gonna go to our Redux here, and then perfect. See, now we don't have any errors. But when we load the dashboard, when the dashboard mounts, it does the get projects, which is basically doing this. See, these are the same things that we have in the database. So basically what I'm telling the components to do exactly this, but in React or in Redux, right? So if you go to projects, right, we have our two projects there. Then in the next lecture, we're going to start wiring this up so that we can actually display them. Okay, but for now, this is really good, and good job. Again, lots of moving parts. We touch a lot of files in this lecture alone. If you get lost, if you're having any problems, rewatch the lecture, then go to the branch, take a look at what I changed, and if you're still stuck, right here for you. Just let me know in the Q&A, and I'll be more than happy to help you out.